Good morning, Her Excellency, Mrs. Anju Ranjan Ma'am. Good morning, all speakers, and thank you for joining us today. From my side, I'd like to thank Anju Ma'am for bringing together such wonderful ladies. I actually feel privileged to be standing here and introducing each one of you. I think as ladies, we all have, and we come from different walks of life, and each one of you have a beautiful story to share with everyone. So whoever's watching us, I'd like you to share this or start a watch party. I now introduce you to Madam Tara Patak.
Good morning, all beautiful ladies present here. I welcome you all to this program where we are celebrating womanhood in this rainbow nation in the South African Women's Month. Women are essentially beautiful, and the definition of beauty truly differs from person to person. There are certain other qualities which strive to define all beautiful women: compassion for the self and others, intelligence and desire to support others. The woman who has these qualities is beautiful, the beauty that inflames the heart and enchants the soul. The woman is often considered as playing multiple roles. She's a daughter, a sister, a girlfriend, a lover, a wife, a daughter-in-law, a sister-in-law, a mother, an aunt, a granny. And with these multitudes of roles, you might want to add her function-based roles. She's a friend, philosopher, teacher, nanny, nurse, housemaid, entrepreneur, manager, business executive, and many, many more. This diversity is what makes women unique and dependable. I would like to quote Charlotte Witten here, and it is one of my favorite quotes actually. Whatever women do, they must do twice as well as men to be thought of half as good. Luckily, this is not difficult. And in the words of Ayn Rand, the question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me. For women, there is no stopping now. I myself, I'm great to be working with a dynamic and versatile boss lady. She herself has come from a humble background to reach this. I think I left my page. To reach this position. And she is very dynamic, and I'm really grateful to be working under her. I have learned a lot from her, and she continues to inspire me, and she continues to motivate me to bring out the best in me. So presenting Mrs. Anju Ranjan, our Consul General of India in Johannesburg. Ma'am, will you please come to give your keynote remarks?
We're going to bitch about them. Good morning, women. Each one of you bring a lot of joy. I met many of you and then had not the occasion to meet few of you, but it will be wonderful to know you all. And this is a beautiful morning, the month of women. We are celebrating womanhood. When I think about the woman, and as myself is a woman, when I think about a woman, a lady, what comes into this thing in my mind is the earth. That's why they call the Mother Earth is a woman. Why? Because she can carry that burden. We are the one, we can carry everything. That's why under that analogy, the ship is also called she, because she can also carry. So anything which can carry is a woman. So we carry so many things in our life. We carry not only the burden, carry the tradition from past to future. We also carry beautiful characteristic which we transfer to the next generation. We carry man in our womb, give birth. So when I was studying anthropology, I found out there was a question always wondering me. If you have studied anthropology or you have some interest in the human race, how it was like at that point of time. So when they were saying there was division of labor, so then there was a saying that women were given the lighter work. They had to look after the house, they had to take care of the house, and because they may not be the physically that strong, that was the logic given. That's why they never went out, and then hunting and other things like security and protection was the job of the man. I beg to differ. I disagreed, and then I said women were staying inside home. You know why? Because women were like interested with the most important job of the world, the giving birth. The men, despite trying, despite all the science and everything, they cannot give birth. So women were given the protection in lieu of that most important job of the world of carrying the human race from one generation to another generation. We were inside home. We were not going out. So always think that we are so much special. We are the really special creation of the God, and they tried to create so many things, but in every respect, nobody can compare women with any other race, with man or any animal. You cannot compare yourself. You are so much extraordinary, so much special. I always wanted in India, when you know, this mentality is like you should always have a son. I always wanted I should always have a daughter. And in India they say if you watch a serial or if you watch something related to the baby, you will get the similar kind of baby. So I had that much more, I had the belief was that if I watch Cinderella, I'll get a daughter like Cinderella. So I was watching Cinderella, I think that's true, because when my son was born, I was watching Mowgli. So I was watching Cinderella, my mother-in-law came and then said, why are you watching Cinderella? I said, I'm watching Cinderella because I want a daughter like Cinderella. So then she said, but generally people, like, you know, they keep the, you may not have seen the babies, poster babies of girls, mostly they are boys, and beautiful boys and all. I have nothing against boys, but these are the posters, and then they say that you keep the poster of your husband or anyone, like, you know, you want the baby to be like this. I said, I want my baby like Cinderella. So I'm lucky to have two Cinderellas. So I always enjoyed the womanhood. I never felt that being a woman, I was very, very disadvantaged. It was a big disadvantage for me. I never felt that. I have been first in many respects. Like when I was born in my village, I was the first child of my parent, followed by 5 more daughters. So there was a lot of pressure on me to get married in the family, because in India, the father who has 6 daughters, he will be like, you know, how much under pressure from the society, from his mother, from everyone, that, oh, you get married, and then that too, so-called that the elder daughter, I was very mischievous, very naughty, problem creator, and not a ideal daughter, you can say. And so they wanted to get rid of me, and but you see, the God was always with me. They tried and tried and tried. I'm writing a novel on that. They tried and tried and tried, and then when I was in the 7th grade, they started my marriage negotiation at that point of time. Because in India there is a concept that if you get married before puberty, you know, the parents will have, like, you know, lot of, you can say, good fortune coming into their lives and something like that. So it's a religious matter that the first daughter at least should be get married before puberty. And my grandfather, he felt that I'm his daughter and then he should get me married. you can think of my reaction. No, it was not bad. I was always very much looking forward to get married. I was too much, I was thinking I should get married. I didn't know that marriage will bring so many burden on me and all. So many suitors came to see me. Luckily, I was not beautiful, so called, and they kept on rejecting me. Kept on rejecting, till I rejected them all. And then finally, I got married when I got into foreign service. One boy was seeing me before I got into foreign service, and he wanted me to get into IAS because he himself was in IAS. They said, please, you give your first choice IAS. So again, this liberated woman inside me, outside I was looking very traditional, but inside I was always very liberated, kind of. And this liberation nobody can take away from you. If you are liberated from inside, you are. No matter, whatever people think about you, doesn't matter. So then I thought, why he is asking me to, kind of give an option IAS for me when I was writing exam, second attempt. First attempt I met him when I was in Missouri and all. So when I was writing exam, he asked me, give IAS as your first option so that we can stay together. It's very difficult to make family and stay away from each other. That's a good idea, good logic. Then I thought, why should I give IAS? Then I should have to stick to this guy. This is my turn to reject. So I gave my first option, Indian Foreign Service. I got into it, and then he came back and then crying, and kind of literally crying and all. I said, what you did? Why you have done this? I can't live without you. I said, see, now I'm in foreign service. I love you, but I love my foreign service more. So you can leave me, I forgive you. So nothing, no malice. And as a filmy dialogue, it's a Bollywood dialogue, that we can stay friends. So, but he must have thought about himself, about myself, and he is more sensible than me, I think. I am very, very, you can say, I'm very, very self-centered when I think about myself, because I never think about others, I only think about myself. Because I feel if I don't love myself, nobody will love me. So then he came back, I got married to him. The family was not, no family were agreeing, my parents and then his parents, and there was a lot of ruckus because of the marriage was intercaste and all, and then we are living in a village. My father is like 5 more daughters to get married and all. So then I ran away, I eloped and got married, and boss of my husband was the witness for our marriage, and then he called my father-in-law. Then he said, why did you run away? Finally he got defeated, so now he's saying, why did you run away? We could have a very nice ceremony for you and all. I said, never too late, you do it now, I'll come back. So that's how, that guy is still my husband after 20 years, so we are still married. We have 3 children, and he still loves me, I think, and I also love him. So what constitutes that love? That love doesn't constitute that you stay with a person for 24 hours. I know the staying is also important to get your love, like, kind of practice your love basically. But our love is very different kind of. I allow him to grow him as a man. He allowed me to grow me as a woman. When I say allow, that means that not only he is very, very unhappy when I am in the foreign service, or I am not unhappy when he is the commissioner of province. It is like we are growing, letting each other grow in their own career aspect and all. I don't expect that he will stay committed to me, but I will stay committed to him. Because I can't guarantee about him, I can guarantee about myself. So that's how my personal story is like this. I have brought up my children single-handedly because my husband is in administrative service where he wanted me to be, but I am in foreign service, and I wanted that to make my children also very independent and all. So then I am taking care of my children. I have fulfilled all the responsibility. When I feel myself as a person, it would not have been possible to do so many things if I would have been a man. It is possible because I am a woman. I have more power. I have more tolerance. I have more resistance. And then that's why we can do so many things which man cannot do. So I feel very proud when I see a woman growing. I see a woman going and doing whatever they want. So my life is my life. It is not nobody's business. And my career is my career. It is nobody's business. If I go and then want to buy anything which is like too much of cost, I don't need to take approval from someone. This I feel as an empowerment. That is, suppose I feel like do the online shopping and I want to buy 10 dresses of same type, same color, same this thing, I should be able to do it. That is my real freedom. I feel that way. I should do whatever I feel like doing. I should not shy away from my responsibility, but I should also have my life. I should also live my life to the fullest as I wish. And I feel responsible towards the world because women can make a better world. And then, in India, there is a dialogue of a movie that men always think that world belongs to them. And women come and create problem in it. That is what they believe. So the dialogue is that जमाना आदमियों का रहा है पर औरतों ने इसमें मुसीबत कर दी है. मतलब we never accepted that this is a man's world. We always come and then kind of create our place. We empower each other and then we create space for other women. When you see there is a lot of women relationship you come across in your life. Your mother, your sister-in-law, your mother-in-law. Mother-in-laws are very important. I think everybody in this room might have had a mother-in-law. And my relation with my mother-in-law is better than with my mom. But I feel that every relation needs respect, dignity. And if you don't treat a relationship with respect and dignity, it is not going to stay longer. Kind of. Whatever you want to be treated as, you should treat others like that. So that is my funda. That is my principle in the life. When I came here, I feel that I saw women are the holder of the house. They have kept the house intact. I see all my local staff are women because women here are more hardworking. They take care of their family, their house. They are more worried about into the nation building. So I think we have a bigger role to play in the future. And I feel very proud when I see that women has become councillor, women has become member of parliament. A woman is a minister. A woman has she got an kind of it has been announced that she's got the Women Achiever Award of BRICS. So all these things are fills me with joy because I feel that a woman going there where the man cannot reach, and that's why we are so special. I don't want to take more time because it was an introductory thing. I wanted to introduce myself in an interesting way. I hope that everybody has a story to tell, and then I'll be very, very glad to hear your stories. As per my understanding and as per my commitment, you can count on me. If anything you can want from me or any facilitation you want me to do for you, I'm here. Anybody comes and then say that okay, this thing has to be done because this lady is trying to get through these things. I don't even think that okay, she could be a wrong lady. No lady is wrong, believe me. So I straight away do the things. I straight away try my level best to facilitate them and help them in taking care of the issue what they are bringing. Women can be a better negotiator, I always believe. Women can be a better administrator. We can be a better, because in the house we manage so much. The women, though the homemakers, you see how much they are managing. I see my mom, She can manage things so well. So if you can manage the house, you can take care of the house, you can take care of the family, children and all, you can manage anything. The no office is much more difficult than the house. So that's why we excel everywhere, because we are women. In India, we celebrate Women's Day in March, and here we celebrate in August. So next time when we'll meet, it will be in March, and then I'll dig more upon the contribution of Indian women into the nation building of India. I would like to hear from you all that how you feel about India, about the South African women's contribution into making this rainbow nation. So stay blessed, stay safe, and keep shining, keep flying. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. I think you said some wonderful words that have stood out for me. The fact that we as women have the best job of caring kids. We need to celebrate us being liberated. But I think what's very important that Anju ma'am said is minding your own business. Think of yourself, how many times do we do things just to please someone else? We seek someone else's approval. Yesterday I attended the seminar on celebrating people in South Africa, and I think what stood out for me was Anju ma'am's daughter sang, but her mum trained her. So if you talk of womanhood, it needs to start at home. You can't go out preaching women empowerment. It's got to start at home. And her daughter went on stage and she called her mum to sing. So they did a lovely duet of a patriotic song. Our next speaker is supposed to have been Ms. Lebogang Zulu, CEO, Avis Lightsteel, chairperson of BRICS Women in Business. Unfortunately, she has to attend a BRICS meeting and therefore will not join us. Next speaker, Masuri Ramasari, CEO, Digital Media Triple T, a South African business leader with a career spanning more than 25 years in banking, telecoms and digital. She founded Digital Triple 3 a year ago and recently launched the newest all-inclusive entertainment, gaming and e-learning product offering called Avatar in SA, with expansion into other African markets. Suri's mission is to grow young talent and to continually change the landscape of how consumers use technology in everyday life by connecting the unconnected to services and offering them an unimaginable experience. I request Ms. Suri to come through.
Good morning, everyone. Her Excellency, Ms. Anju Ranjan, all the amazing, phenomenal women here today, and the speakers that's going to speak today. I'm Suri Ramsari. I was born in Chatsworth in Durban and grew up in a town called Phoenix. I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up with a dad, an amazing dad, a very smart, intelligent man, but his downfall was alcohol. And it was sad that being alcoholic, it put a lot of pressure on my mom. And through that journey of my life, it built me into a very strong woman, going through the years of seeing my mom take on the role of mom. She had to wake up early in the morning, take the bus, go to work. But the most important thing that she gave us was love and education. She never stopped when she came home at night to make sure that our homework was done. She ensured that we had a good meal. And most importantly, the love that she gave us, and she pushed us to move forward. It wasn't easy for her, and she had lots of struggles, she had lots of health problems, but she stood tall, and she was a very strong woman that guided our path. I matriculated and I moved up to Johannesburg in '93. My mom paid for my first year of studies, and I actually wanted to be a math teacher. My brother was in Johannesburg already, and he was working in ABSA Group, and he got me a job in the bank. And I was so blessed to be given the opportunity and for someone to believe in me and give me a chance. I didn't stop my studies. I didn't know where my path was going to take me. So I continued with my first year of studies to become a math teacher. And at the end of that year, I excelled in my studies, and the bank gave me an opportunity to study towards a CA-IB-SA in financial services. So I worked and I studied at the same time. And being in that position was absolutely incredible because it gave me such amazing experience. I could apply the knowledge that I learned through my studies, and it wasn't just theory. And that really grew me as an individual, and it pushed me to do better. And as much as I had this job and I started as a teller, it was always on the back of my mind that I got that job because of my brother. And I wanted to make sure that I did this for myself. And I continued studying, and when I felt I learned enough and I was in a position that I could do this on my own and apply for another job, I did that. And that was the most exciting time of my life, when I got a job on my own. I continued on a yearly basis to study and to grow myself. And through that journey, my passion was marketing. I loved being creative and I loved designing. And I decided at that point I wanted to move into marketing. So I studied my BCom in marketing management. And I was fortunate enough to get a position at MTN. I worked with Shireen, and that started my journey in development and product and technical. And when my idea of marketing was designing a campaign or putting out an ad, but it took my journey into a completely different path. And working closely with the teams, and I was tasked with, first started with analytics and understanding customer behaviors and why customers did certain things and why they adopted to certain products and why they behaved in a certain way. And I eventually went into product design. And designing my first prepaid product, I worked closely with Shireen, and she was in program management. And I'd never done product management, and I'd never done project management or program management. And I had to learn. And I sat with Shireen and I said to her, how do you project manage something? And she gave me the methodology of what they use and the different elements that you need to look at. And I went and sat with every single department to understand how they were going to influence the building of this product. So who needs to do what to eventually create this outcome? And trying to understand from who's going to technically develop the product, to who's going to market the product, to how consumers are going to be educated. We need to make sure our call center understands the product and they fully briefed on the product to support it. And learning from all these different departments, I managed to create the product and launch on time. And that's where my journey started, in designing and developing products. And I moved on to then understanding how to interpret the behaviors of these customers, looking at the stats, understanding how customers were actually delivering, how our products were actually performing, where were the gaps in the market, what is the need that we actually addressed. And you know what, when I go back and I look at my life and all the things that I was exposed to, where I had to go and purchase groceries on a monthly basis and looking at the best sales and where I could get more value for money and how to budget and come home and help with the cooking and stuff. All these actually helped me in looking at my products and being able to see, okay, what is the best value for the customer, how to budget, how to get the best cost-effective product out there. And all these actually help you because it's something that you grew up with and you learned. And it was easy for me to apply that into what I was doing. And I eventually ended up moving to, I joined MTN, I moved to Zambia, and I headed up products and designing products in Zambia. And again, moving into a different country, you don't know everything, you learn on a daily basis. It was going in there and not just launching the product, but understanding the market, understanding the people that I was working with, how to relate to them, how to work with them, different cultures, different diversities. And through that journey, I learned so much to deal with different people, understanding different customers and how to actually effectively build a product. I spent 2 years in Zambia, and it was an amazing journey. I had my 2 girls with me. It wasn't easy. My husband had his own business here in South Africa, so he couldn't join us. So I lived in Zambia for 2 years with my girls, and I think it taught both my girls and myself a lot in that time. And as Madam Anjuranjan was talking about how she grew up and how she grooms her kids, it was important for me that as much as I earned a good salary, I could give my kids privileges, I could give them a good life, but they also needed to learn responsibility, they needed to learn humbleness, and they also needed to learn independence. I'm blessed with 2 daughters. My elder daughter is 21 years and the younger one is 16, and she's in a 3rd year of university. She's doing BCom law. And I ensured that I made sure that my kids learned independence. So when she finished university, we got her our own place and we got her a car. But the most elevating experience for me was how my daughter took the steps on her own. I didn't have to push her. And I think it was because of the way both myself and my husband lead our lives. And as Madam Anjuranjan was saying, in those days, the men were the ones that worked. The men made the decision in the homes. And my husband and I, we collectively make decisions. We help each other. He cleans the house when he needs to. He takes care of the kids when he needs to. And subtly, all those values ensure that your kids actually build up with that. My daughter, when she was going for her driver's license, she registered and did everything herself. When it was time to apply for university, she did everything on her own. And I ensured that she could be independent. When she left home, she could drive, she could take care of herself. And after her 1st year of university, she applied at companies. And I said to her, Vedanta, the way you can get experience is not by thinking you're going to earn an income. It's offering your services for free. And that's how it builds it. In any company that you go to, that you offer your service for free. And if you perform and you put your everything into learning and understanding and delivering what they expect from you, in return they will pay you in kindness or in reward. And after she finished her 1st year of university on her own, she applied to a few companies during her holidays, and she got a VAT job. And now she's got a full-time job even though she's at university. And the company offers her hours that she can work in her own time. So when she doesn't have busy days at university, she works. And that's going to groom her for a future. It's going to allow her that when she leaves university, she's got experience, she knows how to deal with people, she respects people, she values her job, and she has the skills to be able to walk into a job and be able to immediately settle herself into it and understand where her path is going to be. So I feel if I've achieved something in life, that is my biggest achievement, is to make sure that my girls can be independent. And I mean, with the current situation that we have today with COVID, life is not certain. And if I could groom her and other kids to become independent and mentor kids and empower them, it's building the future of tomorrow. So please let me know when I'm like 2 minutes up. Going back to women's rights, I mean, there's no doubt there's been significant progress towards achieving gender equality since 1956 in South Africa, where 20,000 women actually marched to union buildings on the 9th of March in protest against the extension of past laws to women. I mean, I didn't realize that it was that early days that this happened. But activists actually rebelled against a patriarchal system designed to control women and reduce them to submissive beings at the mercy of men. Today, South Africa's progressive laws have some more women serving in high-ranking positions in government and other businesses, but it's still not enough. Access to education by young girls and women have also improved substantially. More women are starting to get more literate now. And you know, when I think of women being literate, and I think the inspiration in my life was growing up with my gran and my dad's sisters. And my dad's sisters, all of them never had an education. But you'll be amazed, they all had skills of sewing, and they used to sew garments, and they earned an income out of that. They built their houses, they bought their own cars, they learned how to drive, and they were completely independent. And I think that inspired me to go ahead in life and make something out of myself. However, amidst all of this, the female unemployment rate is still exceptionally high in our country, but across the world as well. And it's women like us that plays that important role to start ensuring that we build and empower women to ensure that there's more employment for them. Being in the corporate space for many years, I held a lot of leadership positions at MTN. I joined South Sea. I headed up products and services as an executive. I eventually became a chief executive of content and designing products within the South Sea corporate environment. And being exposed to Exco and sitting on the Exco team. I mean, it's still evident where you're exposed to so many corporate companies at that executive level, and men still dominate the corporate world. And it's ensuring that we as women start to build women underneath us in leadership roles to ensure that when we leave organizations, that these women can take on a role. And I think that's quite important to make sure that we use our skills. And I mean, I learned a lot from a lot of the male men in my career and in my life. And I use some of those advantages and those skills to make sure that I build and challenge and take my life into a different direction and impart that skills to my team as well. There's a lot of things that we as women can also influence, and if we start to build and empower women and make them understand that we are equal to men or more, we will start to see the reduction in violence and women abuse. We will start to see improvements in equal work, equal pay. Teenage pregnancies. There's 6% of girls between the ages of 14 and 19 that fall pregnant and are in different stages of pregnancy. And how do we encourage them and build them and educate them to prevent this from growing? And even if they do fall pregnant, how do we help them to make sure that their life doesn't end there, that they still progress and move forward? Stats SA quotes only 31.2% of managerial positions are occupied by women. And this is clearly evident in a lot of corporate institutions. And we need to start breaking this. The median salary, women earn 76% of men's salary. Why is this the case? Women have to work harder, as Madam Anjuranjan mentioned. Women have to work harder to prove themselves and in order to obtain buy-in and support. Women are often unheard and not taken seriously, and all this is based on my experiences. Sometimes it feels like it's purely to maintain the quota when women are put into leadership positions. If you look at a lot of companies, where are the leadership positions in women? Generally in HR, generally in finance, but why not the other positions? Often leadership positions are given to women, not because they believe in their abilities, but because they have to meet the quota. I think there's what's amazingly happening in South Africa and part of government in order to ensure that we drive women equality is BBBEE. And many of us that work in organizations will know this. As much as BBBEE is there, when companies are small businesses or businesses are applying for business in corporate companies, women are just placed there, whether it's your wife, your sister, just to get to the 51% women ownership within that business. But do they play that critical, important role in driving business? No, they don't. It's still the men behind it, and that needs to start changing. I've listed 10 points that helped me grow in my career, and I hope that this will influence a lot of young women to adapt this into their lives in order to grow and enter into the working environment. And Ms. Anjuranjan touched on a lot of this. And the one main thing is happiness starts within you. If you're not happy with yourself, if you don't invest in yourself, you will not be able to influence, you'll not be able to empower, and you'll not be able to grow. To grow, you always need to do something that you are not ready for. And you have to push the boundaries. You need to learn, you need to involve yourself, you need to experience it, you need to challenge it, and you need to make it your own. Never doubt your abilities. You must optimize every opportunity that comes your way without having doubt and without doubting yourself and your abilities. You need to take the challenge. You need to innovate yourself. You need to connect and draw from other strengths and expertise where you don't have that skill. You don't have to know everything, but you have to grow that skill and use it to your advantage. And the one thing that made me powerful in my execution was learning the things I didn't know. When I launched my first entertainment product, similar to Netflix, I had to become a student again. I needed to start at the beginning. I went and studied how to develop and build an online platform and not to study it because I wanted to go and physically build it, but my developers, I could challenge them because I knew exactly what I could expect out of them. And that's how you start to empowering yourself, is being one step ahead. Bold is beautiful. And I love the saying. A quote from Sheryl Sandberg: leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence, making sure that impact lasts in your absence. There is nothing such as physical beauty. When you are bold enough to be yourself and in front of the world, you are unarguably beautiful. Participation is important. Always be prepared and never be afraid to participate. If you believe you are equal, you can be bold. If you are bold, you can empower other women to equally become bold. You lead by growing others, instilling great values, allowing others to make mistakes and guide them. Paying attention to the detail, and this is really important. A lot of people say you shouldn't be paying attention to the detail, you get too caught up into the detail. But the detail for me is very important and matters and differentiates you from others and makes you stand out and be bold. Be participative. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion. And when you do, make sure you do so with respect and with understanding. You have to listen and encourage participation and be consistently directed. Take criticism seriously, but not personally. You'll learn by that. Our kids today, they don't want to be what we want them to be and what we want them to do. They are a different generation, more bold, vocal, digitally savvy, and create their own stories. Why should it be different in the workplace as well? It's time to listen and open up opportunities and create leaders. Focus on your goals. Passion is energy. Michelle Obama said, one of the lessons that I grew up with was to always stay true to yourself and never let what somebody else says distract you from your goals. And this is so important. She also said, success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. And I think that is so important. Another quote by Oprah Winfrey: passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. And if you do that, you will achieve so much more. Inspire others. Your success means nothing if you haven't inspired a single person to do the same. Inspiring others empowers you as well. You are never too small to make a difference. Leadership is about teamwork. The culture they keep and embrace, it's about empathy for your customers, clients, employees, and the communities where you do business. It's about doing the right thing for the right reasons, being confident enough to take risks, and responsible enough to think of those who are your decision, that those who your decisions and risks may affect. Serena Williams said, every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We're strongest when we cheer each other on. And that's so important. Make mistakes. Take risks. Instead of keeping quiet on problems, don't hesitate to suggest solutions. And that's exceptionally important. You always identify problems, but always make sure when you enter any situation, always have a solution for it. Your small participation might turn to be a lion's share in future life. If you do not make mistakes, you have not learned. We need to accept that we don't always make the right decisions, that we'll sometimes screw up. But if we understand our failure, and we understand why we failed, and we never repeat that failure, we will grow. The key importance is the ability to learn. Never stop learning. And if you learn, you will improve so much in life. And the last of the 10 is say no to excuses. Never have an excuse. Always think about why. Always accept responsibility. Always acknowledge where you're wrong. but never ever have an excuse or accept an excuse. And most importantly, prioritize yourself. Make time for yourself. Love yourself. And we all as women know we have hectic lives. And it's taking 10 minutes for yourself and rewarding yourself in everything that you do. I end with 2 quotes from 2 strong men. The first one from Nelson Mandela: freedom cannot be achieved unless women have emancipated from all forms of oppression. The other quote is from Mahatma Gandhi: the day a woman can walk freely on the roads at night, that day we can say that India has achieved independence. And these quotes are so important. And I leave you today. Thank you, Ms. Andrew Ranjan, for giving me this opportunity to speak today. And it's amazing to see so many new faces today. And I hope that in some way or form that I'll be able to work with you and touch many other lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Suri. You have certainly inspired me. Our next speaker, Ms. Jackie Mpondo Hendricks. I hope I've said that correctly. CEO of South African United Business Federation. A seasoned marketer with over 25 years of experience in both private and public sectors. A thought leader and innovative thinker. A strategist who has launched some of South Africa's prolific brands. Passionate about SMME development and making a meaningful contribution towards the revitalization of township and rural economies by bridging the gap between formal and informal business processes. Women, youth, and the disabled key focused beneficiaries. As a social entrepreneur, board member of an NGO, board member and first black female president of JCCI in 130 years. Chairperson of JCCI Midrand Region A, 2020 Mail and Guardian 50 Most Powerful Women in SA, designated President, Marketing and Advertising Council, the realization of her ambitions in motion. One of South Africa's first black Miss SA finalists prior to democracy and a first in many other roles in her eventful and illustrious career. Thank you. Please come forward.
Firstly, I would like to confess on a number of things. In my diary, I was scheduled to actually speak tomorrow. So this morning when I got home, when I got to the office, something just prompted me and said, just check your emails again. And when I looked at the emails, I thought, oh my word, it's actually today. But, you know, there's something about, and I'll touch on it on the speech, because I anticipated that a lot of the speaking would be specific around business issues, would be around statistics, etc. But what is important in gatherings like these, as women, where we can become authentic, where we can become real amongst a sisterhood that finds its commonality in a vision to effect change at a global level. Now, I wrote a speech, and as I go through the speech also you'll realize that something happened that has made me very attuned to spiritual guidance and spiritual connectivity. So when I consulted and I said, what is the message that I need to share today? Because every opportunity that you get is an opportunity to impart the wisdoms of those that have come before us and the God Almighty that guides us. So humble greetings, Basali, women, the incubators of freedom and dignity. It was said then that you strike a woman and then you strike a rock. Today, it is still the same. I want to also remind the youth that you are the future, and you are the ones that will take the dreams and the aspirations that we have set in motion as part of this generation into the future. All protocol observed. It was with great pleasure and humility that I accepted the invitation from Her Excellency, Consul General Ms. Anju Ranjan, to deliver this message on women empowerment. I fundamentally have an issue around that word, because by virtue of us, and I'm deviating, by virtue of us saying that, almost indicates a need for us to be empowered, when in actual fact we are already empowered in who we are as women. It's a conversation for another day. This is aligned to my collective mandate as the immediate past president of the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and now the newly appointed South African United Business Confederation CEO, both female first appointments. Our common vision is to secure our preferred trade and investment position within the continent. At the heart, however, of all our activities is the inclusive empowerment of women and youth-owned businesses. Today, however, I don't want to talk about that. I can tell you about how the South African United Business Confederation represents the interest of over 850,000 SMMEs in this country, cross-sector, various beneficiaries ranging from rural, township, right through to mainstream economy. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. Today, I want to talk about that which binds us as women of the world, and not what divides us. What resonates across race, color, culture, borders, religion, and politics. That which is the common thread that weaves us together into a global sisterhood for inclusive and progressive socio-economic change and true empowerment. But before I share these thoughts with you and those who have listened to me speak in the past, they will know I always start off by saying, what is my personal position statement? Because it's this that gives my audience an indication of the authenticity of me. I am a proud daughter of the African soil, a descendant of a great lineage of African ancestors, and the personification of God's mercy, grace, and unconditional love. The address occurs at a time when South Africa and the world are propelled to collectively deal with a pandemic that consistently challenges us to choose between the livelihoods of some of the world's most vulnerable and the economic survival of our countries at large. What COVID-19 has done is exposed global vulnerabilities and inequalities. It has spotlighted threatened uncertainty, despair, caused by unwelcome disruption, personal and financial losses, including its multi-layered effect on women's well-being. There was also the forceful push towards self-reflection and introspection, and most importantly, the appreciation of sacred breath. COVID-19 threatens us ladies to take away our universal breath as a people. But I am certain that the human spirit will prevail and that in unity we shall overcome. May I therefore take this opportunity to convey heartfelt condolences to all those who have been affected and lost loved ones to COVID-19. As we reflect on the importance of the event and the month that we honor today, we remain inspired by the resilience of the women of 1956 who led a multiracial and multicultural march that has forever changed the narrative of the power of influence women have in society at large. On this 65th anniversary, let us also reflect on the discipline, the dignity, determination, and courage of these stalwarts who marched, and let us emulate them in honor. History has therefore taught us that as a collective driven by a common goal and ambition, we, as women, can overcome any oppressive force against our growth, our development, and the achievement of our set purpose as women of influence and impact. From bondage of 1684 to freedom of 1994, the common thread between South African Indians and South Africans is our exposure to the discriminatory laws of apartheid. South African Indians have retained a sense of cultural and social connection to India and a concept of primary local and secondary ancestral identity that remains prevalent amongst people of Indian descent. This has extended into our South Africa-India relations, both former colonized countries whose bilateral agreements have extensively grown to include trade, investment, and cultural exchange. Indian women have played and continue to play a key role in the struggle towards women empowerment. Let's take a moment to reflect on those who were part of the planning committee of the 1956 march and selflessly risked their lives for the betterment of society at large. Let's reflect today on Sister Amina Kachalia. It is documented that the real personal challenge for her was that, like many who lived in strictly traditional households, she needed a husband's permission to attend. What people also don't mention is that she was 6 months pregnant as she stood on the steps of the union buildings and addressed the protesters, joining Lillian Ngoyi, Helen Joseph, and Sophie Willems de Bruyn, whilst carrying thousands of petitions to the door of Prime Minister Straden's office. Others included, and for interest, some of you can just research some of these amazing Indian women. They included none other than Aisha Bibi Dawood, Professor Fatima Mir, Fatima Sadat, and Rahima Musa. Now times have changed, and we face different challenges in this era. The socio-economic challenges are already well documented. The strive towards gender equality, well lobbied. But what we need to engage on more is how do we reposition the narrative of women empowerment? How do we evolve the conversation? And how do we truly equip ourselves to achieve a global ambition that resonates with the borderless sisterhood of not only change, but meaningful ownership and beneficiation. Let us also put earnest effort in empowering ourselves and owning our thoughts, our minds, our bodies, our spirit, and our actions. I was once told that we cannot appreciate the light if we have never experienced the dark. I wish to expand on this by saying that you cannot appreciate the dark if you do not take the lessons out of the experience, as it is some of those bulbs that bring true enlightenment. How do you show true compassion if you have never experienced pain, loss, hurt, and disappointment? How do you truly give selflessly if you have never been in need? My sisters, I need you to think about what I'm sharing with you today. Yeah. And I pray that we internalize it so that we can transcend beyond the ordinary and become the extraordinary beings that we are meant to be. When you are placed in circumstances that challenge you, know that these are placed to arm you with pearls of wisdom, intimate knowledge, and empathy that will be your strength, but always in humility, self-discovery, affirmation, and actualization. Find strength, my sisters, in your weakness. Find strength in your pain. Find strength in your disappointments. And find strength in your trials. And find strength in your betrayals. Indulge me slightly as I take you through my personal journey. Not as a victim, but as a victor of my circumstances. Born into a religious home, a granddaughter to a church minister, a shielded, warm, loving environment. Upon reflection, I'm not the typical, from the dusty streets and struggles of the township, I emerged to become successful. No, not one of those. The foundation that has found its full circle in my life through my beginnings in church has now taken a full circle and is one of servitude for a higher purpose, a higher calling to make a difference and to be spiritually grounded as a cornerstone of my life. Of course, whilst growing up, I did not see it this way. I rebelled at an early age when I was innocently exposed to the injustices of apartheid. Playing in the street, my life suddenly was under threat when a barrage of soldiers walked towards us, pointing guns at us. A group of innocent children playing in the street. I remember running from the pointed gun until I was breathless and until I found refuge under a bench in our church. I vividly remember the smell of tear gas scattered to disperse and terrify us. These oppressive acts meant to tame and weaken the spirit. Instead, it set in motion the desire for freedom from oppression, and an activist was born. No one should ever be given the power to dictate your freedom. My activism for freedom took on different roles during the years. I challenged the societal notion of what is a good career path for women. I certainly did not become a nurse. I certainly did not marry a doctor. Certainly did not marry another pastor, and all those other things that our parents usually advise us to do. I challenged the entertainment industry, I challenged corporate, I challenged business and social activism, being the first in many related positions. I challenged how beauty should be defined. I participated as a black woman in Miss SA 1989 before democracy, and entered with natural short hair and competed with a braided hairstyle. And I still remember the stylists were saying, how do we style this hair? You know? And many other patterns. And funnily enough, I even challenged Miss Diwali. Yeah? And I said, but this one, she's not Indian. Why is she entering Miss Diwali? I challenged the story of apartheid to personal experience. How you can be affected by both sides of the coin. My mother was shot by her white Afrikaner fiancé during the height of the Immorality Act, and my uncle was necklaced by the same students who he diligently taught as a suspected traitor. How, as a black woman of mixed descent, the issue of identity is a constant challenge against the prescript of society. I challenged violence and abuse by standing up and saying enough is enough, not only for me, but my sisters at large. But please do not feel sorry for me, but empower me by positioning the plight at the corridors of power and influence in a manner that effects meaningful behavioral change. So I ask that I not be patronized, and neither my struggles. I challenged COVID-19 and I beat it. Instead of taking my power, COVID-19 re-empowered me. When the world was silenced, the voice within me was loud and clear, a clarion instruction that I was not placed in positions of power for no purpose, that I was blessed to be a blessing to others. So during lockdown level 5, I initiated a COVID relief program across Gauteng that distributed over 90,000 meals to the most vulnerable children, women, and the elderly. The instruction was that I need to clothe them with dignity. And I asked how. And some of the answers was through sanitary pads and adult diapers. Until you have seen an adult pensioner in the same diaper for 2 weeks, you understand the degradation that comes with it. I was warned by many that I would be putting myself at risk of infection, but my response was that I would rather die in the battlefield than be a bystander and stand witness to the suffering of my people. I would joke and say that at least I would be a smiling corpse. When was the last time, my sister, that your conviction was so powerful that you felt a sense of resolve that made you untouchable? I did get infected during those early days of COVID. It was May 2020. I ended up in hospital for almost 2 weeks on oxygen. And by the 3rd day, I was ready to give up the fight for breath. And this is also one of those things that when you're in a leadership position, you can never be weak. It's also one of those things that even when you're going through pain, you must say, no, it's okay. And at the end of the day, you are broken. Yeah? So on that third day, I was tired of the fight. And I said, God, I'm ready to go if that is your intent. I entered the tunnel of light. I saw my ancestors. I felt the presence of God as I happily and freely moved towards the end of the tunnel. My ancestors turned their back on me as I was halfway through it. And I woke up in hospital with an injection being administered by a nurse. I thought, what a rude awakening. God, could you have not done it differently? I realized that I had to succumb to a higher purpose and calling of a life that has not yet completed its purpose. So here I am before you, my sisters, as a reminder that you need to embrace your purpose as spirit-filled women, as incubators of the dreams and aspirations of nations, as the ones closest to the heart of our Creator. If that is the case, who can stop us? Let us take ownership of all that we are and represent as women. Let us collectively become the authors of our destiny. Let's rise above what society dictates and set our own terms of engagement with humility, respect, resilience, compassion, dignity, beauty, and discipline. It is said that motivation forms 1% of success, but discipline is the true enabler. People who change the world, they make a commitment and they make a decision to see it through. And then when they've made that decision, then the decision will make them. What is it today that is your decision? Now, I cannot leave this podium without, and it's not in my speech, without mentioning two issues. One is the fact that as much as we focus on empowering of girls, let us not forget the next pandemic that we are faced with as a country. The president made reference to this, and it's the single mother households. Over 70% of the boys in this country are fatherless. Until we begin to look at how we start dealing with that issue, all our efforts regarding GBV will only be one-sided. That's the one. The second thing, on a much lighter note, because you all seem so serious, is that, and I know I'm taking the pigeon out of the bag, but we are currently working on beginning to construct an action plan on women empowerment for this country through the guidance of the presidency. We are currently constructing the Women's Economic Assembly, and part of the concerted effort that we are putting in is to challenge the president on the 40% procurement that is being ring-fenced for women. That process is in play, and I would like to take this opportunity to invite my host today to take an active role in this initiative. I thank you, my sisters.
Thank you very much for that insightful yet deeply spiritual message. I think I'm going to give my age away if I say I remember you from the my South Africa pageant in those days of the 80s. Thank you very much, Jackie. Our next speaker, Ms. Priscilla Bola. She's a dealer principal, general manager at VW Cloudstorm. Priscilla studied computer studies, public administration, and accounting before she started working at Nedbank. She studied part-time law while working due to financial constraints at the time. She started working at Nedbank from the age of 20 as an equity clerk until she progressed to management. From there, she moved on to Mercedes-Benz, starting off at the bottom again in car sales, and once again progressed to a sales manager position. After being in this position for 12 years, she was offered a position at VW as a dealer principal general manager. Welcome.
Good day, Anju ma'am and beautiful ladies who's watching me and adorable people that's around this table. I think she's given an introduction already, so I'm going to head back to my past. Okay, I'm one of the lucky women that was brought up with my mom with no dad. I lost my dad when I was 2 years old. So I had my brother that actually assisted my mom. After a few years, he passed on. So I was quite small, still in school, and my mom had to raise 5 daughters on her own. So she struggled. She went and she worked in a factory and she sewed clothes and stuff just to support we 5 girls. So there was not much income or anything to really expose or us to a good education. We had to do it all in our own. Eventually, my elder sister married and the others studied, and I was given an opportunity to come after matriculated. I also studied for a year and then I came to Clarksdorp where I worked at Nedbank. At the bank I started also as a teller. So being a teller, inquiry clerk, and working myself up, supervisor, then personal banker, and then manager. So I know the feeling of starting right at the bottom and going to the top. I never gave up. I carried on. I had a dream and I had a mission in life. I drove past Mercedes-Benz one day and I always said, I want to drive these cars. I want to work in this beautiful building. And I said, no. But I've got this position, I'll work myself up, I will not give up. Luckily in the bank, you've given opportunities to study where they make sure that you do different courses and different education levels where you qualify. So one day, a dealer principal stepped into my office and I've done his home loan, credit card, and I was actually so lucky that a few days back after that, he came and offered me a job at Mercedes-Benz. And I spoke to my husband and he says, now you're a manager, now you want to go selling cars. I knew nothing about cars. I drove a Taz. And I was a bit afraid because I didn't know where the petrol go, and then I drove a manual car. And when I actually started work the first day as a sales executive, they gave me an automatic car. I was so afraid that that automatic car's, gonna roll out of the showroom. But I pretended to know everything, because if you make like you know nothing, they're gonna, laugh at you, and that's the last thing I wanted. So my husband said, don't be afraid, it works better. The automatic, you just control it with your brake. And I listened to him, and I went for all this advanced driving courses, Mercedes-Benz management course, and I was actually offered a position to be a manager. So it shows that my skills, I applied everything I could to get to where I wanted. And I drove amazing cars, from A-Class right up to GLE 63 AMGs. So I was actually fortunate in the raceway. I've raced every beautiful car you can think about. So I was actually blessed that my dream has come true, because that was my ultimate. And being there on the top. I was always wondering, people laughed at me when I sold cars because I didn't have much knowledge. And I learned every day. Google was my best friend. I felt inferior going and asking them. So I Googled and I learned on my own. And I took an initiative of going to places where I wanted to be. I then was offered this position as a dealer principal, where I oversee a whole lot of people, that everyone's under me, all the divisioning, from sales to parts to service, which I don't really know much, and I learn every day. So they even took me to Germany. I even forgot to tell you all my awards. When I was in the bank, I was chosen top achiever of South Africa. That's in the sales sector. And also in the bank, that was in the bank, Mercedes-Benz Best Manager. So you could see what you put in, you get out. Okay? I'm also lucky, I must say. I've got a supportive husband that really supports me and encourages me. If you do not have the right partner, I feel that you cannot go, you know. He encouraged me timelessly to make me the woman I am today. So I'm actually lucky with my mom that brought me up with morals, values, and my husband that supported me right away till the top. And I am blessed with 3 beautiful girls. The eldest one, she followed my dream. She is presently a candidate attorney and she's completed the LLB. The middle one has done HR and business management and is going to do a new business venture soon. And the youngest, she's still in school, she's in grade 11. She's won all the beauty pageants, so she also, she's little me, should I say. Because in my little days, beauty pageants was my passion. And it is still my passion. So I've done beauty pageants. I presently judge beauty pageants. I do Miss Clarkstar, Toddler and Tween of the World, and many other pageants that I currently sit, and I'm actually one of the main judges in certain beauty pageants, which is actually inspires me. It inspires me to encourage the young woman out there that for me, I'll never give up. I think I am the girls' role model presently. They always look up to me, and that's how it should be. And the little things that I taught them is never give up, because the sky is the limit. And to all the women out there, that's the message you must always remember. Never think that that's a man's job, or that's a woman. What I say, a woman can do everything a man can do. But a man can't do one thing, as Anju ma'am said. They can't give birth to us, or to any woman, or to any child. So we are blessed with that. And support is extremely important. I think independence is a key. I teach my kids, and I encourage every woman that education and independence is extremely important. Because if you're not independent, you can never go far in life. So really, independence, study, go and reach out for your dream day, and respect. If you give somebody respect, they will respect you back. There's just nothing impossible. All the women out there, you are beautiful, you are stunning, and always remember that. Because if you know that you are stunning and you're beautiful and you're bold, you can conquer the world. Thank you.
absolutely gorgeous yourself. Our next speaker, Bernadette Miller. She is the CEO and Head of International Trade at the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Her journey with JCCI started 15 years ago. She had her own business supplying medical and laboratory equipment. As a single mom, she looked to expand her business. JCCI offered her a program called Access for Women in partnership with International Trade Centre and the Canadian government. Through the program, her business accessed 20 countries in Africa, Cuba, India, America, and Dubai. In 2011, her business was selected Exporter of the Year with FNB and JCCI. Her business secured major contracts with the Ministers of Health in Africa. In 2017, she was offered the position of Head of International Trade at JCCI, and 2021 promoted to CEO. Welcome.
I'd just like to say a very big thank you to Her Excellency, all distinguished guests, and everybody here. It's really an honor to be a woman, because two qualities of women that just come up immediately. It's resilience and be multifaceted. You can do so many things at the same time. Being a mother, working, looking after the home. It's just, a woman is just so multifaceted and also so resilient. Before I go on to give you my journey, I cannot go anywhere without saying a little bit about the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, because JCCI really saw the leadership potential within me and gave me the opportunity. JCCI was established in 1890, and we part of the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris. So we have access to about 14,000 chambers globally. And one of our main strengths and our focus is also to provide our members and SMEs access to the 14,000 chambers and markets internationally. And we host 2 to 3 international events a month, where we will invite the High Commissioner, the Ambassador, to give a brief overview on the bilateral trade opportunities. We really encourage bilateral trade, so it's beneficial for both countries. And then also a financial institution and a logistics company, so we'll really talk through the trading cycle. And also part of us, the services we offer, we run a global export accelerator where we train SMEs in every aspect of exporting. We start with a mentorship program, we do the training, and then we give them access to markets. And we've been very successful in running different projects with the German government. We ran the Global Export Accelerator. We're very successfully running a Women in Business project, which is over 2 years, where we empower women to access international markets, but we also empower them with networking and with all the mentorship as well. And so I must say, I'm very proud to be standing and speaking about JCCI, because, as I said, they gave me the opportunity to really grow in leadership. I was born in Johannesburg, and from the age of 18, I became independent. I worked and I also studied further, and I've been involved in different industries, in public relations, sales and marketing, and I've been in the medical industry for 30 years. I had my own business distributing medical and laboratory equipment, and 16 years ago my husband passed away, and I have 3 children. My youngest was 10 years old, and my 2 sons, 16 and 17. So I had the 3 children which I had to educate and also to bring up. And my decision was to instill a very strong faith in them, to really believe God, and also a very good education. And then during that time, after my husband passed, I saw this advert in the newspaper. JCCI was advertising for women to participate in this program sponsored by the International Trade Centre and the Canadian government. I enrolled and I was successful, and within a short period of time, I traveled to about 20 countries in Africa. I traveled to India. We were there for about 2 weeks, and I gained quite a few different partners in India as well. I traveled to Cuba, America, and also Dubai. So JCCI and the Department of Trade and Industry really put my business to grow. And then in 2011, we were awarded as Exporter of the Year, and my business secured major contracts with the Ministries of Health throughout Africa. And then in 2017, I was offered the position of Head of International Trade at the Johannesburg Chamber, and then just recently in January, I was promoted to the CEO of the Johannesburg Chamber. And as I say, it's really been a great honor and a privilege to work in this position, and also assisting businesses to grow their business, especially being there, seeing the challenges, seeing the opportunities that businesses face, and how one can impart that knowledge and that practical experience to these businesses. And also my children, during this journey, my daughter, she graduated and she's now an attorney, and she's been awarded a bursary. She's studying in America. She's doing a master's in America at the moment. And my two sons have now also secured management positions, one at a bank and the other one at a pharmaceutical company as well. So this journey through these 16, 17 years after the passing of my husband really made me look what potential, what is inside of you. And as I say, with my strong belief in God and seeing what is the potential, and then the opportunity that JCCI gave me, I was really able to develop into leadership. And that's why with the programs we're running at JCCI as well, it's really my objective and my goal to see women in business, seeing the opportunities, growing in business, and also creating employment, and also creating sustainable business which they can pass on to other generations as well. So it's really been a very exciting journey, and I also look forward to us collaborating and working and forming partnerships and see how we as women can work together as well. And thank you so much for this opportunity today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Bernadette. I think a few decades ago, you would find women get together and they gossip. But nowadays, I find that when women get together, they do things to help each other grow. And I think seeing you in such a senior position, it's well done. Thank you. Our next speaker, Shireen Ibrahim, who I know personally, is the co-founder of ICMT Group of Companies. She's a member of the Ethics Institute of South Africa, member of Business Women's Association of South Africa, founder of Heels International, and their aim is simple: to help every exceptional lady succeed. She's the founder of the COVID-19 Awards, and she's also the founder of Heels International Community Hero Awards, and I'm grateful to have been one of the recipients of that award. In a nutshell, Shireen is a businesswoman, philanthropist, and community activist. Welcome, Shireen.
Hi ladies. I think I got the lucky spot because everybody's getting a nice meal. So the crowds are going to set in and the sugar levels are going to be better. So firstly, let me start off with having to thank Anju, the Consulate General, for having me here. I'm very humbled by this. I'm very humbled by hearing the stories of the various ladies. Very inspirational, very heartwarming. And to all our viewers, thank you once again for your support. And whoever's watching this, I hope you can draw some inspiration from this as well. So I have a different speech today. Mine's focuses around the climate of women in South Africa. And then we'll talk about my journey. Let's do this slightly differently. Women have always been instrumental in the advancement of the human cause. They've played a crucial role in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. And yet it is women who always bear the brunt of inequality, discrimination, marginalization, poverty, and violence. In a world of 7.9 billion people, almost 49.5% are female, who account for 67% of the world's working hours, earn 10% of the world's income, and own 1% of the world's property. Only 5% of 500 Fortune CEOs are women. 750 million women and girls alive today were married before the age of 18. 1 in 5 have experienced physical and sexual violence in the last 12 months. That is worldwide. In South Africa, there's obviously a different statistic. There is only 23.7% representation of women in political offices. And that source is from the United Nations. As part of the global movement towards achieving gender equality by 2030, South Africa celebrates this year's Women's Month under the theme Generation Equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. Whilst progressive laws for gender equality and women empowerment have been introduced worldwide, in South Africa, educational and employment inequality still exists. With teenage pregnancies and gender-based violence in progress. I think another lady also chatted about that as well. We spoke of 6% of the women going to be impacted in a way that way. Okay, so when we look at the stats and we look at what women empowerment is, we talk to us around women empowerment. A basic explanation of women empowerment from Wikipedia is a process of empowering women defined in several ways, including accepting women's viewpoints and making an effort to seek them, raising the status of women through education, awareness, literacy, and training. Women empowerment equips and allows women to make life-determining decisions through the different problems in society. They may have the opportunity to redefine gender roles or other roles, which in turn may allow them more freedom to pursue desired goals. Women empowerment has become a significant topic of discussion in development and economics. Economic empowerment allows women to control and benefit from resources, assets, and income. It also aids the ability to manage risk and improve women's well-being. It can result in approaches to support trivialized genders in a particular political or social context. While often interchangeably used, the more comprehensive concept of gender empowerment concerns people of any age, gender, stressing the distinction between biological and gender as a role. Women empowerment helps in boosting the status of women through literacy, education, training, and awareness creation. Furthermore, women empowerment refers to the women's ability to make strategic life choices, which have been previously denied to them. Nations, businesses, communities, and groups may benefit from the implementation of programs and policies that adopt the notion of women empowerment. Empowerment of women enhances the quality and quantity of human resources available for development. Empowerment is one of the main procedural concerns when addressing human rights and development. I want to touch on something that is very important that's happening in South Africa and worldwide at this point in time. So while we talk about female empowerment and women empowerment and little girl empowerment and just empowerment in total, taking somebody from a disempowered stage to a place where you can freely exercise their rights. And I know somebody said we should not use the word disempowerment and empowerment because we are all equal and we don't need the validation from anyone else. However, in the current pandemic that we are facing, I just want to read a few things out to the ladies so we understand how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted women with the gap and taken women backwards in terms of the equality as well as all the work we've put in over the years. in getting women into employment places, getting them into higher ranks, where they're basically a little bit more financially, I would say, free, and they can exercise better rights and have better homes and surroundings. So PwC Women in Work Index released a report showing the progress for women in work is back at 2017 levels due to the COVID-19 by the end of 2021. COVID-19 has increased the unequal burden of care carried by women, causing more women than men to leave the labour market during the pandemic. The longer this high burden on women lasts, the more women will leave the labour market permanently, reversing not only progress towards gender equality but also stunting economic growth. Research has shown that career breaks have long-term impacts on women's labour market prospects, and women will never return to lower paid and lower skilled positions, and if they do, that is what they are going to be taking, because that gap is going to be occupied by men, and I'll explain why. Women in economic inclusion and access to the mainstream of the economy should be a priority. Now, when we look at women that's in the workplace, the type of work that they tend to basically get, and as one of the ladies mentioned, I think it was Suri Yu who said it was HR, and it was in one of financial areas. So what tends to happen is that when a woman is basically having a COVID situation at home, she's basically the bearer of having both a job and looking after the kids. So when she has to make the decision with her spouse, or being a single mom, her kids would come first. So what happens is that the woman would basically go towards the care and the need of her children while sacrificing the job opportunities as well as the work hours. And everybody knows that companies under the COVID strain need to continue. They need to continue economically as well as making money and making sure that there's sustainability under these climates. So what's happening in South Africa and worldwide is that women are actually dropping off jobs and basically putting in less hours. And that has created a bigger gap. In equity plans, we spoke of triple BE, broad-based, black broad-based economic empowerment. And in that, one of the legs of the empowerment segments is skills development, ownership, equity, etc. So what that means is that when women are focusing on their kids during the COVID pandemic, those things are going to give way. And those areas and those laws that South Africa, for instance, has put in place to basically even out all of these disparities and what we've suffered in the past and close that gap is now happening again. So I just want to talk about the key focus areas to accelerate closing the economic gender gap in the times of COVID, because these are suggestions and solutions. So we have to hardwire gender parity in the post-COVID-19 world of work, reskilling women to be ready for re-employment in high growth sectors. Now, under the current economic climate, you have businesses that's firstly trying to cope. We've had looting and riots that happened in the country. It destabilized the economy. Women that were in businesses as well are too scared. You know, the violence that's in this country, let's be real. And then we have, if you're in a business and you want to empower women while they're sitting at home, and I wouldn't say sitting at home from a place of neglect, taking care of the duties, to keep them back, to bring them back into the economic climate and basically give them the opportunities, again, you have to fast track that. And this is something government needs to take cognizance of. It's not about just filling and fixing the gap of the past and what we had in the National Gender Policy Framework and in the plans. We've basically gone back a few years, as I've explained. So we need to also close the gender gaps in remuneration between and within the sectors, enhancing work quality and pay standards across currently low-paid essential work. And now that's a tough one, because when your rain falls, now you need to see who are you going to reward and who are you going to retain. From a BE perspective, we're still getting there with the reforms. we're still far off. And to throw more money in, something's got to give. And that starts with all of us, meaning that we don't have to wait for organizations to do that. And by virtue, you would see that there's a lot of NGOs, NPOs, organizations that's basically come up. They help with that. They're the buffer in the system. And they help with all of those gaps where government is not coping, okay? Where businesses are not coping. And where there's a shortfall in terms of the revenue stream, we come in. And that is where I'm going to talk about myself. So I'm Shireen Ibrahim. I also come from humble beginnings, from a beautiful place called KZN. I was 7 years old when my parents came up to Johannesburg. My father was a working class man, my mom was a housewife. I came from a family of 6 girls. So for me it's a very sore point to talk about this, but I would like to share. In fact, I've never shared this with many people. And I was thinking, what am I going to tell these ladies? Because I had a specific speech. And everybody basically just let their heart out and, you know, spoke about their families, what made them who they are, and why we are here today. So my dad was a working class man. He passed away in 2019 on Workers' Day. A day when I had a function for women. It was women empowerment, and it was for 10 orphanages, abandoned and abused children. It's very close to my heart. The very night when I got back home, he had a heart attack, and I didn't get a chance to see him. And there was something that I wrote when he passed away. And somehow it falls into the concept of Malcolm Gladwell, his book called The Outliers. My life, if I have to explain it, is similar to that, where your circumstances basically define you. Your circumstances. And obviously you have to be resilient. You have to be disciplined. You have to stay focused. You have to be a change agent. You need to reinvent yourself. So a lot of women, I hear that you came from backgrounds where the environments defined you. I came from an environment where, and this is the first time I'm actually publicly saying this. So when I was a kid, my mom was pregnant for my sister, I call her my second sister because she's just like 11 months apart from me, but she was actually the 4th. And I was 3 months old and my mom had fallen pregnant for my sister. So obviously it's difficult to cope with the next kid. And I happened to be that kid. So I stayed with my grandparents, my grandparent. And so I had the environment of where I was the only kid. 6 years later, my granny passed away. And I was introduced into a family of 4 other girls. Change management at its best. So you're a leader, now you need to fit in, and there's teamwork. And so there was something else that happened when my mom gave birth to me. So I have a partial disability where I cannot hear so well with my right ear. And there's a 60% hearing with my left ear. And I was supposed to go to a special school. Because as a kid, when you hear things that's wrong, you get bullied. And you get laughed at. And my mom was going to put me into a special school. But because I had just regrouped with my sisters and found my family again, because after my granny passed away, obviously everybody knows that the values are different, the families are different. And so I asked my mom, please can I just be with him? I don't want to go to that school, please put me in a normal school. So she told me on the basis that you will do what is required to be in a normal school, okay? Being in a disabled school does not mean you're not normal, you just have a disability. But you know, for me, she wasn't so sure whether I would cope because I was always teased by my sisters. So, when I see my success, people speak of this success starting from, you know, you had a situation, you had a business, you started off from humble beginnings, and through life, eventually you made it. My number one reason was that I was too scared to fail. I was too scared not to fit in. I was too scared that I was going to be laughed at. And I was too scared that I was not good enough. So throughout my life, I remember my schooling career being such that I could not understand sometimes the concepts that people were telling me, and I would overstudy. You know, there's this favorite saying that people think that maybe you're just a lucky kid. No, maybe I just overstudied. So I studied 10 times more to get to the 100%, to 13. And that was my entire life. So I started off, and I was the kind of person, no matter what knowledge came to me, I wanted to learn. So no matter what success you are looking for, it first starts with a humble and learning attitude. And there's got to be a fear for something. If there's no fear, then you're in complacency. Meaning no change is going to happen. We never learn from a place of complacency. There's got to be pain associated with it. And some sort of pain creates change. So throughout my life, when I looked at my granny's house and the freedom I had, the economic freedom as well, because I was the only kid, I had everything. And then I came into the home with my parents where everything needed to be shared. And now you start feeling poverty. And you say, but this is not good. And you don't want to live like that. So I promised myself, I'll never be poor. Not out of arrogance or pride. It's because you don't want to experience that. I saw how my mom struggled to bring up her children. I saw how my dad worked at night. And we have beautiful memories. It's somehow strange that you always go back to humble beginnings and the memories that made you and built you. Not when you're up here. When you're up here, it's your time for your legacy. Which brings me to my next point. You see, I speak better than reading on a piece of paper. Because, you know, my eyesight is a bit bad, so when I speak, and you speak from the heart, it's always more better. So when you go through life, and everybody must have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how you eventually become a self-actualized individual, you know, to just take you through that. You have physiological needs, then you have safety needs, and belonging and love needs, and your esteem. Once those things are met, you get to the next level. And eventually you get to self-actualization. And self-actualization is only achieved when you have those others in line. And as women, through our entire lives, and this is with human beings generally, you have gaps in all of those. And life is actually getting to your self-actualized self. Whether spiritually, whether by finding yourself, whether through pain, it's going to take different pieces of you to make you whole. And throughout my life, the one thing, whoever's watching this here, the one thing that's made me successful is humility. Take advice from others. Listen. The number one thing that we fail with, I have lots of stuff and I would always tell them, bring your book, write it down, because you don't listen. It's not because, and I don't think they're being untoward. You know the kid where the mom says go and wash the dishes and she has to say 10 times. If you allow that, you're allowing that kid not to listen. And eventually they don't listen in the workplace. They don't listen in marriages. They don't listen. And they miss out that entire time of introspecting and learning what they need to learn. So the key thing for me in success is listening, humility. You have to have something that drives you, whether it is by fear, whether it is by ambition. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have more things. You know, there's a famous book of the monk who sold his Ferrari. I'm the lady that kept my Ferrari. But I have exactly the same lifestyle as him. But I have exactly the same lifestyle. So I'm saying something material does not determine your characteristics or the value. And we have a lot of people through my entire journey in life. I found that I was thinner and I was younger. I was basically brought down by other females. I'm being absolutely honest with you. It was males that supported you because they take a liking towards you. You know, come here, pretty face, sit with me and tell me, and you just learn and learn and learn, you know? point you can hang around with any woman because she is not intimidated at all. And I found that very strange. Because we need to cheer women. We speak of beauty. When you embrace and you help other ladies be beautiful, and you support them without being threatening, comforting, sisterhood, you become part of their process. And how nice is it to enjoy the company of people with good energy. So throughout life, the other thing that I learned, surround yourself with people that are just positive. You cannot be with energy drainers. I see a lot of posts. I mean, I have a group of 75,000 women. It's called Heals International. It means helping every exceptional lady succeed. And I also have another group, which is the biggest social activist group in South Africa, which is 1.2 million people. And that is #I'm staying. So how many of you are on that? Okay. So I'm the CEO of that group. And the one thing that I don't like actually is public speaking. I'm actually an introvert by nature. I like my solitude, I like learning, I'm highly analytical, and I'm the kind of person, if I'm comfortable with you, I cannot stop talking like Suri. And Suri, I must say, you are on point. You are on point. I wanted to join you, girlfriends, because some of the things that you spoke of were the very things that I wanted to talk to as well. You can see why we work for MT, and we have yellow blood. You know? So, I was talking about my journey and having humility and how women have this tear-down syndrome and not build her up. And what I find is that now in the social media space, it's the right time to network. It's the right time to come together. We have so much of intelligence and so much of information that can basically fill up all these gaps that government is talking about. We speak about gender inequality. We speak about women not being empowered in the workplace. There's online training. There's jobs you can do online as well. Development is something you do online. Suri can tell you that. You know? And then we have these wonderful things that's happening between countries, imports and exports. Online. Online. I was in imports and exports, by the way. I had many jobs when I grew up. I took everything that came my way. And so my career, you're going to laugh. I started off wanting to become a secretary. So in a beautiful place called Lenasia, where my parents moved to, there's about 60,000 people over there. There was this training center. You must know when you get a training center in a place called Lenasia, it is the center now. It's like a birds, you know? So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to save while I'm working. So I saved, I went there, became a secretary. This is like many years back, a few decades. I'm giving my age away. It's okay, it's females, right? Okay, so damn, I couldn't type. Eventually, I wrote it on my fingers. A, S, D, F, J, K, L. And whatever I did it with precision. I did it with thoroughness. Remember I told you that fear of failing was always there. And remember when you don't have money, you don't want to fail because you don't have money to go back now. You don't have money to go and repeat the course. Because it's your money. You know, it's your money now, you're going to study even harder. Not 10 times now, this is like 50 times harder. So I started off and I worked as a receptionist. When I worked as a receptionist, somebody from ECOP saw my behavior with customer services, eventually gave me a job at a recruitment company. Over the counter, hey, I like your attitude, you've got such pleasant customer service. Good. And I was so happy. But the job that I took on was just reception, and I wanted to be a secretary. Imagine what I was aiming for. You know, you have a plan and God has a plan. And eventually I saw this job in Investec. I'm sharing this with you. The personnel's name I'll never forget was strategic personnel. And strategic personnel basically made me go for these interviews. When you worked for Investec, or you wanted to work for Investec back in the days, you had to go for 7 interviews actually. 7 interviews. By the 6th interview, I was like, yo, this is like getting to me. Am I going to get hired or not? And from where Grey Appointments was, I had to take a taxi every day not every day, each time they call me for an interview and pay them. You know, from the little that I was earning, I was like, okay, let me try this. You know, you're like gambling with what little you have, but you want to reach your aspirations. So I always had it in me that I will try. That's the other thing that women need to learn. No matter what your circumstances, this is from a career perspective. I'll talk about my life just now. From a career perspective, I never gave up. I go for the interview, strategic personnel calls me. You didn't get the job that you wanted for a secretary, and I was very heartful. I said, no, they gave you a job to do offshore investments. I was like, yup. You're too clever for that. So I was dealing with Guernsey and Dublin and doing all these offshore investments. And then in my secretarial course, I had learned, you know, MS Access that time. Very low level of development. You start understanding that, you know, eventually you can understand coding. And the IT division wanted a person that could design a database for them. And me, I would put up my hands for everything. I don't know where I had the time back then. There was some sort of blessings in time. And they wanted to know who designed this. And my name came out. So they offered me a position inter-department in the IT area. And that is when my career started off with projects. So when I started off as an administrator, eventually I was a junior project manager, and I was doing some work in the project office. And I was selected by the expert group for project management to study it. I didn't have a formal qualification, but that required me at night coming from Lenasia all the way to Sandton, going all the way to Rivonia Road. So if you know Johannesburg, you would know what that whole system is. And I had to do it every Wednesday night. So I said, I'm doing it. I'll take a taxi there and I'll even go and study. And I did that for about 8 months. And by then, in that time, in Vestec, I decided, in a very early part of my career, I also learned imports and exports. I worked with a lot of people in Saudi, in Fordsburg. And I wanted to do this, you know. So this person called me when I was at Investec and said, can you get me Parasite pantyhose? And some of you wouldn't know, but it was like the silky equivalent. And I said, let me try this because I thought I knew better. And I tried it. I left Investec. I tried it and it failed. And I realized I was all alone in this, all alone. I didn't have the support. I didn't have the families. I didn't have anybody that was in business that could guide me. And all the people that knew imports and exports were basically deceased by then. So take me through. And then I decided I have to go back into the work stream, working now, because now you don't want to be out of money. You know, you've got expenses at home. And I went for an interview to Standard Bank. By the way, when I went for an interview to Standard Bank after matric, I failed dismally. I had an exemption, but I couldn't do an interview properly because I was as nervous, you know, when you start talking, so as nervous. You didn't know basically what you need to talk about. But this time I went for the interview to Standard Bank and they hired me on the spot. So that was a lesson to say you should never give up. Then I was poached by Discovery Health. I was a program manager over there. And it was just before I got married. So my hubby and I, we dated for 10 years. So some people speak of, you know, being in India and you have the caste and the different religions and all of that. In South Africa, you still have it till today. And it took 10 years. And the one thing I learned from that is if something is not working out, don't leave it and be disappointed. Have patience. But use that space for something else. I used it on my career. My hubby and I still dated for 10 years, by the way. 25 years together. We married 15 years. So I'm the lady that's got the most amount of patience that can tell you in my life. I don't give up. And what happened was, just before we got married, and that is such a big risk to take. I told my hubby, you know, I saw this job at Business Connection. Business Connection was one of the bigger consulting houses. That time it was called Complex Africa, and they had bought it from Benjamin and Isaac, and it had become Business Connection. The name changed, basically the name they had bought. And I didn't know about Prince too. So Suri talks about project management. I am absolutely passionate about that. I said I'll talk a little bit more just now. So the job required you to know Prince 2. I thought it was some royal name or something. It's actually project in a controlled environment. But because I had passed my PMP exams, it was very easy for me to actually understand the framework. So the weekend I took my appointment or interview was that Monday. My family still said, what are you reading this big book for? And they laughed, they said, you're not going to get the job. Just come and have a chop over here. But it was just my sister teasing me. But I decided I'll study the textbook from start to finish. Monday came, I went for the interview, and just post 1994, 5 years after apartheid had basically been abolished, I'm going to put it that way. And the markets were opening up. So people were going through transformation strategies in the businesses. I happened to be that lady at the right time, with the right attitude, and having the right energy and hunger. So that is what life also taught me. That you don't give up on who you are. You stay purposeful. You still do what you need to do. Because by default, your opportunities will still come. And so obviously, being the person that I was, and I still am, we were most chuffed by the fact that I studied this textbook, and it was the talk of Deloitte. And I got hired. And that is where I realized that what I wanted got me where I needed to be. And Business Connection, I was in charge of training. I had over 700 project managers. I had 16 project management officers. My career was made there. I took on every piece of work that I could possibly take on. Now, I was talking about the expert group much earlier. The expert group, they had given me a sort of learnership back then. I was basically the judge for project management in South Africa with the expert group so many years later. I didn't know that was going to happen. And then, after that, I went to another company. I'm not going to mention the company. And we speak of women being window dressed. And I was window dressed. It drove me crazy because I was always a worker. I earned my worth. My skill to where I had gotten me. You must remember, I had gotten married and I used to travel at Business Connection 5 hours a day for 3 years. Why? Because from Lenasia all the way to Midrand, on the M1, there was roadworks. It takes you 3 hours in the morning. It takes you 2 hours in the evening. Hopefully it doesn't rain because Midrand then had a drainage problem. You'll be at home if it rained, it'd be a few more hours. 1 hour I'd be in Durban, probably in Phoenix. So, and I did that. I did that for 3 years. And in that time, I would take work home. I was a workaholic. I loved my work. Somehow women, when you come from environments of poverty, of pain, gaps, socioeconomic gaps, inequality gaps, you always redirect it to something that gives you comfort. Some women do it with children. Some women do it with work. Some women do it with a hobby or a craft. I didn't have a child back then, so I focused my energy into my work. So when I joined this other company, it broke me. In a matter of 1.5 months, it was like, you know, this is not me. I can't do this. This is like an insult to my intelligence. It's an insult to my dignity. And that was the time when MTN basically made me an offer. It was a very strange interview. I was late for interviews then. I said, you know, I hope this is not another window dressed position because they need to fill in their EV stats. I asked them, so what do you really want out of this job? And for my rough attitude back then, they gave me the hardest portfolio to run with Suri. So Suri was in the product and the strategy area. And they were, for data alone in MTN, they had to bring in 3 billion rands worth of revenue just in the one segment. And my program manager was basically it's like an internal Accenture lending its services to the rest of the business to achieve their strategic objectives. And remember, people in the organization did not necessarily have the skills, so they needed external people to come and do that. So at Business Connection, I was a sponsor for SAP. When I came into MTN, I learned the Oracle system, and I had also done Microsoft as well. So I have a very strong systems background and a very strong project management background. Project management teaches you everything in a generalist way, but achieving it in a timeless way and managing risk. And that is what I've done my entire life. So it fitted perfectly with my personality. So moving ahead and coming to Shireen now. So I worked for MTN, and then I realized MTN is going through a restructure. I'm the person that will always be the most nervous person. If a restructure is happening, uncertainty freaks me out. I need to plan, I need to know. And remember, it goes back to my childhood of me being aware. So, I'm not going to take much time of yours, so I'm going to speak very quickly now. In my entire journey, up until I started my business in 2008/2009, the first business was Womanhood Management Services. It meant precision. And it was for delivery of consulting services. From there, it moved from project management into testing, into development, into engineering. Then it moved into training, it went into web development, it went into recruitment. So there's about 7 active businesses from the 30. So there's retail businesses. So the whole operating model, what I learned in life, and somebody was talking about the little things. The little things prepare you for the bigger things, but only if you want to absorb it and you want to basically take it. You have to be ready, you have to be embracive. In my entire life, I always had an embracive attitude, also fearful. You have to be scared of something. A humble attitude, you learn from the elders, you need to listen. Those are basic things that anybody would do. And you have to have discipline. You don't have discipline, you've got nothing. So all of the inequalities that we are finding with women in the world, in South Africa, what's important, and I spoke of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when we start becoming actualized women, through whatever experiences life has shaped us into becoming, we now need to give back. So in my son, when I was pregnant for him at the age of 36, I had a late baby. I wanted to retire peacefully. Then something happened. I looked at the climate, I looked at the schooling, I looked at the roads, I looked at people, and I said, my child is going to be born in this. What have I done? I would usually, after the businesses, give my CSI spend. And for those that know the B's, the scorecard, CSI is your corporate social investment spend. You would naturally give it out of that there, and you would also do your charity. And I said I needed to do more, because this is who I was leaving behind. So on the one hand, my bad habits was that I was a worker. I would overwork, but I never picked my head up to see what was happening around me. And in those years, South Africa went backwards. Okay? We went backwards. Let's not fool ourselves. We went backwards. And then I made a decision that I'm going to come back and just focus on philanthropy while I'm still running my businesses. And that was a tough decision to make, being a mother, philanthropy, and businesses. So hashtag I'm Staying is a business that's in philanthropy. We do empowerment posts, we empower people, and we do it in a subtle way of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. With Heals International, we do it in a little bit more of an aggressive way by doing a mindset change. But when I say aggressive, in a positive way, where women can engage from a personal level, from a relational level with others, and societal. So those are the 3 things that we give back to them. We speak of awards. That is what so we speak of awards, and the one thing that we are doing to empower women is to recognize them. When you feel appreciated and you feel recognized, guess what you're going to do? Hashtag I'm Staying has got major awards coming up. Heals International is going to be breaking the Guinness Book of Records with various things. You have to follow that. You have to follow that. And we also do the bridging between other NGOs, NPOs, and all of that. Okay, I'm at a point in my life. I'm in a, when you start off poor and you get to a point where you have things that you want, the money does not matter. It's all about quality of life and leaving that legacy. But my legacy is about, and 6 weeks ago, I had COVID. And I thought about that blessing that comes from the next person. And that is all that matters to me. When we speak of women gaps and gender inequality and all of that, making the difference to women, even if I make a difference to one woman, I've achieved. And if there's anything that I want to leave you with, I had notes and notes and notes. I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about. So Anju, the next time, tell us, so we don't waffle on. And we talk from here to there to there. But it's very exciting being here. This is like the hot seat.
I have a very nice comment I have sent to Fakir Hassan after we finish this.
So what's important is, no matter where you come from, don't forget your roots. Don't forget the people. Go back. make that difference. Go back to those that built you. It doesn't need to start with a policy that's been designed in a framework with government. It starts with your inner circles. It starts with forgiving people that actually spoke badly about you and didn't wish you well. I have many people that didn't wish me well, but I had such fantabulous people that stood by my side and empowered me. And I must say I'm grateful to both. Because those that didn't empower me were actually my energy that made me want to propel further. Not in a bad way, don't get me wrong. My journey and my path is myself. And that's something that's very important. Women tend to compare to men. You know what, I want to be empowered because I need the job like a man and I need to earn like a man. No, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We just do what we do best in the skills that we harness and the opportunities that we take up. And we take up space and we rise and we shine. And it's important that we remember that. We are our own competition. And we must never forget that. And if you are ever competing because you're collaborating for goodness and better solutions together. Women have this behavior of bringing each other down and collaborating but with agendas or for the social marketing and all of that. No, do it from the genuineness of your heart. Do it because you want to make a difference. Collaboration is key. And remember, there's also a higher being that watches everything. And I thank him for this platform. I thank you, Anju, for this. I thank you, ladies. I think I took up a lot of airtime over here, but I did that deliberately because everybody else made me sit for very long as well. So thank you very much.
Shireen, thank you very much for that, and thank you also for all the work you do for improving ladies' lives. Thank you. With that, we'll go into a lunch break, and when we return, we'll start up open talk. Thank you very much, everyone.
Lunch is outside.
Lunch is outside.